This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, welcome everyone. This is going to be the subject of Mem Vav Amud Beis in Masechta Yevamos. This is also a very important sugya in terms of understanding the role of bris milah in Geros. The Gemara Mem Vav Amud Aleph brought three opinions. What constitutes Geros? Do you need milah? Do you need Tevilla? Or do you need both? So the Gemara said, Rabbi Glatstein says that a ger that had milah without Tevilla, it's a good Geros, because the Jews at Har Sinai had milah and no Tevilla. Rabbi Yeshua says Tevilla without milah is good, because the women who came out of Egypt, they had Tevilla without milah. The Chachamim say you need both. That's the bottom line. Then the Gemara concludes that Tevilla without milah, everybody says is good. And that we learn out from the Imahis. And the shaila is, if you had milah without Tevilla, okay. So Rabbi Yeshua says that does not work, and Rabbi Glatstein says that does work, and the Chachamim certainly say it doesn't work because you need both. Please take a look at the third Tosfos on Mem Vav Amud Beis. The third Tosfos on Mem Vav Amud Beis has a kasha. Tema de kaman bereisha aral. The Gemara later on in Yevamos Iyun Aleph Amud Aleph. M'may Rabbi Akiva ger shemal v'lo taval mi Pesach midachsiv toisha v'sacher. Let's say a guy converts and he does milah and he doesn't do tefillah. Can he eat the korban Pesach? Again, he had milah and no tefillah. And Rabbi Akiva says he can't eat the korban Pesach because it says toisha v'sacher. Who does Rabbi Akiva hold like? If he holds like Rabbi Yeshua, that there's no geros without tefillah, then why does he need a pasuk to say that the ger who has milah and not tefillah can't eat from the korban Pesach? Of course they can't. They're not Jewish. Kaman savar Rabbi Akiva. Who does Rabbi Akiva hold like? Ik Rabbi Yeshua. If he holds like Rabbi Yeshua, lama likra. Why does he need a pasuk? Pshita dol yachal b'Pesach. Do'ivik hacham gamor. He's a outright guy. V'ik Rabbi Elazar. And if he holds like Rabbi Elazar, who holds that milah without tefillah works, kivan de germa al yehu ein sralam atim pesach mashal hasam. If he holds like Rabbi Glatstein that milah works without tefillah, then why would he be excluded from the korban Pesach? In other words, Rabbi Akiva says that a guy who has milah and no tefillah, he learns out from a pasuk cannot eat from the korban Pesach. So Tosfos says in Manav Shach, if you need milah like Rabbi if you need tefillah like Rabbi Yeshua, then why do you need a pasuk? The guy's a guy. And if you don't need tefillah, like Rabbi Glatstein, then why can't he eat from the korban Pesach? He's Jewish, he's a full-fledged Jew. So Tosfos says, really, he holds like Rabbi Yeshua, that you need tefillah. Why does he need a pasuk? V'lav mitamei. He holds you need tefillah for a different reason. He holds you can't learn out from the avos because the avos had tefillah. And Rabbi Akiva says, in other words, the question again was, if Rabbi Akiva holds like Rabbi Yeshua that you need tefillah, then why do we need a pasuk that someone who doesn't have tefillah cannot eat from the korban Pesach? Of course he can't. He's a guy. So Tosfos' answer is, Rabbi Akiva agrees you need tefillah to be Jewish, but he doesn't learn it from the same place as Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua learns it out from the avos that Rabbi Yeshua holds that you needed tefillah because the avos had tefillah. And Rabbi Akiva says, no, we don't learn out you need tefillah from the fact that the avos had tefillah. We learn out you need tefillah from the fact that we have a pasuk by Korban Pesach. And that teaches me that you need tefillah. But we're going to focus on Tosfos' question. Let's get Tosfos' question clear. Tosfos' question was that why does Rabbi Akiva need a pasuk to exclude someone who doesn't have mikvah if he holds like Rabbi Lezer that you don't need mikvah? Then he should be able to eat from the Korban Pesach. And if he holds like Rabbi Yeshua that you need Tevilla, then why do I need a pasuk? Of course, you can't eat from the Korban Pesach. So I want to show you a Rashba. This is an amazing Rashba. Ella la'asuye ger shamol v'loy taval v'kosavar eno ger sheyem avito. The pasuk is excluding a ger who did mila and no Tevilla. And Tosfos' question was, if we hold like Rabbi Elazar, like Rabbi Yeshua, that you're not a ger unless you do Tevilla, why do I need a pasuk to exclude you from the Korban Pesach? This is the same kasha as the Rashba. Kasholi, imkain hainu goy. Without Tevilla, you're a goy. V'afal pi shamal harehu ka'arel. Tahavalei ka'aravi mohol. What do you, if you have an Arab eats the Korban Pesach because he has a Mila? He's a guy. So who cares if he has Mila, if he doesn't have Tefillah? He's not Jewish. In other words, the Rashba's kasha is, why do I need a pasuk to say that a guy who doesn't have Tefillah can't eat the Korban Pesach? I need a pasuk to say Arabs don't eat it from Korban Pesach. Mila doesn't do anything. I mean, today in the hospital, many people have Mila. And obviously you can't eat from the Korban Pesach if you're not Jewish. The Rashba says a Chidush Noira, that even Rabbi Lezer, or even the Chachamim that say you need Tevilla to be a Jew, they would agree that the Mila still accomplishes some aspect of making you Jewish. You're quasi-Jewish after just the Mila. Vilesa, says the Rashba. The Shani Hacha, here it's different. The Milasoi L'Shem Yahadus. The Mila was for the sake of being Jewish. The Afal Pi Shaloi Nigmar Gerusa, even though you didn't complete it, Mikamagim Kvar Hischel V'Nichnas Kitsas Bedas Yehudis. You already began and entered a little bit the Jewish religion. She'eno tzarchel tefillah. Now all you need is tefillah. Ein chanami, an Arab who has mila is nothing because that mila was not for Judaism. But if you did mila for the sake of Judaism, then certainly you're somewhat Jewish, and you would think you're allowed to eat from the Korban Pesach. And I need a pasuk to teach me you don't eat from the Korban Pesach. That's a different answer than Tosfos. Again, the Rashba is mechadesh that it's not mila, tefillah, or bust. Mila accomplishes a degree of Kedushas Yisrael. And this opened up an amazing, let's see if I could, I don't know how to do this. How do I do this? This opened up an amazing controversy. Let's see. Oh. Is it right side up now? Yeah, okay. In the Sefer Toiras Rabbeinu Shmuel of Salant, it records a controversy that we're going to speak about at length on Wednesday, I think. And here's the story. This is recorded by a grandson of Rabbi Shmuel Salant, Rabbi Yechiel Michal Tukachinsky. I believe I had the zchus to be at his kever. He's buried in Sanhedria, near a lot of the Gedolim of Yerushalayim. For example, Rabbi Vadia Yosef is buried there. Rabbi Shmuel Birnbaum happens to be buried there. The Tefliker Rav is buried there. Rabbi Shimshon Polanski. I believe Rav Herzog is buried there. Okay. So he records the following controversy. Uvdazu Haisa B'Shnas Tafresh Ches. This happened in the year 608, which is the year 1848. B'yom Chav Gimel Chodesh Adar Sheni. The Nimal az ini Yehudi shvam dinas Maraka lefnei habadatzikos Ashkenazim. Moroccan Jew came, he wanted to convert, and they did a milah over Shabbos kol zachav terem hayatava. And on Shabbos, before he went to the mikvah, so remember we said you can't go to the mikvah until the milah heals, because the moisture irritates the wound. V'hinei Maran Hagoyin Hagadol Chacham Zikni Rabbeinu Shmuel Salant Lo He'oz B'Yerushalayim. Shmuel Salant was not in Jerusalem at the time. Kinasa Shavuos Achados Koidem LaRussia. He had to travel to Russia. Al Derech Inyoni HaKolim V'Tzorach HaKehila. He had a fundraise. V'al Derech HaGarin Shazor Tzmichas Yeshiva L'Kilos Ashkenazim Moisa Tamtosh B'Chotzer Rabbeinu Yehuda HaChassid. And for a different cause, V'imali Oz Makam Aravid Rav Godov Tzadik Echem Me'abonim Me'abadat Shal Gon Rishon Slant, and one of his dayanim took his place. Okay. Uba Shaila, is it right side up now? Uba Shaila b'Shabbos Kodesh Achar b'Tzarayim L'fnei Oisa Rav. The following Shaila happened. L'maisa, this guy has a milah and he doesn't have Tevilla. So is he a Jew or a guy? L'chayr, he's a guy. So is he allowed to keep Shabbos? Or does he dafka have to be mechalo Shabbos? So you said, what do you mean? He had milah and he's converting. Yeah, but he doesn't have tefillah yet, and he can't do it yet because he's not feeling well. So the shaila is, can this potential ger keep Shabbos, or is he required to be mechalo Shabbos? So this rabbi who took the place of Reb Shmuel Salant, to pasuk halach l'maisa, that this ger needs to write a few letters, v'yitzav al ger v'yasakein. He told the guy he has to be mechal Shabbos. The next day the other rabbis found out. Who are the Sfardim rabbis? Harishain Letzion. Many people think Rishon Letzion is a invention of the state of Israel. Rishon Letzion was a Sephardic position for hundreds of years before 1948. The chief Sephardic rabbi in Eretz Yisrael was a Rishon Letzion, in Yerushalayim was Rishon Letzion. V'Rav Hasfardim Haya'oz Hagoyin Hagadol Harav Agan, I don't know who that is. V'Tzavchay al Psak said they questioned the Psak for Rubam Kekulam Amru Shailai Lishbais v'Shabbos Kodesh. Most of the poskim say he needed to keep Shabbos. So when he realized that, they're starting up with him, he wrote two letters. One he wrote to Rav Shmuel Salant, who was in Warsaw, and the other he wrote to Rav Yaakov Ettlinger, the Binyan Sion, the Archaner, and they both paskined, and he wrote to them, but that he paskined that the ger has to be Mechal Shabbos, and he wants to know their opinion, and both of these Rabbanim said, you're dead wrong. This person, even though he's not Jewish, has to keep Shabbos. And as we're going to see, Rav Shmuel Salant based it on the Rashba. That once you have milah, even though you're not a full ger until you have tevilla, but you're already nichnas ketzas lekedushas Yisrael, and therefore you need to observe the Shabbos. Let me just see if I could find where. Reb Shmuel Salant responded based on the Rashba that he already entered Kedushas Yisrael slightly, and therefore he's not allowed to desecrate the Shabbos. He's mechuyev to keep Shabbos. Now I want to show you what the Aruch LaNer paskind. And Be'ezus Hashem, Wednesday night, I'm going to show you an incredible tshuva on Avnei Nezer, who he turns the whole Sugya around based on a Zohar's understanding. And the question is why the Rishonim didn't learn that way. He learns because the Rishonim didn't know the Zohar. The Zohar hadn't been revealed yet. But once we have the Zohar, you have to learn the Sugya differently. But for now, I just want to show you the psak of the Aruch LaNer. The Aruch LaNer paskin, here he brings the whole Shaila and the whole history, and he says like this. You told this ger that he has to desecrate Shabbos, and says Achaner, I investigated in many Batei Dinim, and they told me they never heard such a thing, that a ger has to keep the Shabbos before that the ger has to desecrate Shabbos before the full geros. Okay, so the Kitzur, the Aruch LaNer, tells us that he did an investigation and he never heard of such a thing, that the ger has to desecrate Shabbos before his tefillah. And the Binyan Tzion says, "V'nasati alibi limtzoi tam lezeh achrei shelachora psak musar al adnei hadin ve'emes." L'chora, your psak makes sense that he's not Jewish yet. And the Binyan Tzion says something incredible. He says, among other things, and this is the point I want to share with you, where was Klal Yisrael commanded to keep Shabbos? At Har Sinai, when they had Milah and Tevilla? No. Klal Yisrael was commanded to keep Shabbos before Kabbalas HaTorah. They were commanded at Marah. Now at Marah, what was the status of the Jewish people? They had Milah from Yetzias Mitzrayim, but they didn't have Tevilla yet. The Tefillah was not until Har Sinai. So says the Binyan Tzion, from there we see that even though when it comes to being Jewish, it's dependent on the full Geros, namely Milah and Tefillah, Shabbos is dependent specifically on Milah alone. So you don't have to be Jewish to keep Shabbos, but you have to have Milah for the sake of Judaism to keep Shabbos. You hear this Chiddush? How do we see that? From the fact that Klal Yisrael were Nitztaveh in Milah at Marah, even before we had Tevilla. Here, let's read this. I want to show you this inside. He says, among other things, and we'll see this more on Wednesday, V'nei b'Shabbos amrinan, da'al Shabbos nitztavu Yisrael b'Mara. V'chei muchach me'aksuvim shekvar kimu Yisrael Shabbos koidim shebo lahar Sinai. Sharei HaSipur, right? We know Klal Yisrael kept Shabbos before Har Sinai. Remember in the story of the man, what did Hashem tell Klal Yisrael? Ad Moshe Me'antem. What do you mean Ad Moshe Me'antem? They weren't commanded on Shabbos yet. They didn't get the Torah on Parshas B'Shalach. The answer is they got Shabbos. Shaharei HaSipur Shel Haman Sha'olav Nemar Ad Ono Me'antem Yekoidem Sinai K'mavur V'kiven De Tevilla Lo Haya Ad Sinai Al Korcha Kaimu Yisrael Shabbos Kishamolu V'lo Yitfalu. Even though, what do you mean? A Ben Noach is now to keep Shabbos because Yom V'Layla Lo Yishboisu. V'al Korchach Tzorach Loimar, that it's Gzeras HaKosav Le'inyan Shabbos. Regarding Shabbos, Milah takes you out of the status of being a Ben Noach. And you would have thought that would apply to Korban Pesach, if not for the Milah, to say for Korban Pesach you have to have Tefillah as well. Now, I can't restrain myself, but I still have probably the most unusual story you ever heard for Wednesday night. So I'm not giving away the story, but I'll give away the Avnei Nezer. Avnei Nezer says, if you look in the Zohar, because Avnei Nezer says, maybe you'll say that was just a one-time thing, that the Jewish people, they had Milah when they left Mitzrayim, and they kept Shabbos a little bit later in Marah. The Zohar says that at Marah, they did the Priya. The Milah was by Yetzias Mitzrayim, and the Priya was at Marah. So that means, says Avnei Nezer, you see that Shabbos is connected not to Judaism but to Milah, because at the time of the Priya, Hashem commanded them on Shabbos. So too, so why didn't Tosfos on Mem Vavam Avez and Yevamos say that regarding Korban Pesach he would have learned out from Shabbos because the Zohar says they had Priya at Marah? Tosfos didn't know the Zohar. Tosfos would have known the Zohar, he would have given my answer. Okay, but this is a very interesting sugya of the status of somebody who has Milah without Tefillah, and the Achroinim, such as the Aruch LaNer and the Avnei Nezer, seem to say that Shabbos may be dependent on Milah, and Rav Rabbi Reb Shmuel Salant wants to argue based on the Rashba that even though we hold you need Tefillah as well, but the Milah does accomplish something. So you say, how are we going to tie it into this week's Parsha? Because we have the mitzvah of Milah in this week's Parsha of Yom HaShmini Yimo B'Salas. But, even if we didn't, we would figure out a way. Okay, but The story Wednesday night, I'm telling you, if you would know what it is, you wouldn't be able to sleep in anticipation of it. Okay. That is Mem Vav, Daf Mem Vav. Okay? Could you hear me? That is Daf Mem Vav.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.